top-notch internal auditors, world-class internal audit functions. The Internal Audit Mastery Podcast with your host, Alan Meisner, starts now.
Episode 3, 7 Steps to an Effective Information Security Program. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. In that spirit, I thought I'd take the time to provide you with a practical approach to information security. After all, as internal auditors, we should be looking for practical solutions to the risks our company faces. The information security threat. There used to be a time when a hacker was a teenage kid, bent on playing pranks. But things have changed. Now a hacker is organized, either part of a criminal enterprise or a government. They exploit systems with a focused determination, an advanced persistent threat, APT. Some of you will remember the Borg from the Star Trek episodes. Resistance is futile. If the intelligence reports are correct, there are entire armies of hackers, very well trained, very well equipped, working shifts focused on single targets. It isn't if you're going to be hacked, it's when. Even the most sophisticated companies in the world have been victims. Recently with JP Morgan, Google, even the Department of Defense. We're going to be hacked. It's just a matter of when. Sun Tzu in The Art of War said, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting." It should be obvious that this is not a war where we can go on the offensive, so we're limited to taking a defensive posture. Even if we were to hire an army to implement the best technology, to follow every protocol perfectly, you would never be fully defended. I mean, if the likes of the Department of Defense and Google can't protect their assets, how do you think you're going to protect yours? So what I'd like to do is give you a practical approach that gives you the best opportunity to protect your data. This is 7 steps in this approach. Each step can be seen independently, but I would argue that following each step in order gives you the best opportunity to make the most of each. Step 1, data inventory. In order to know what's at risk, we have to know what we have. This does 2 things. It helps us set priorities for investment, and it helps the users know how to handle data. I'll cover both of these later, but for now, I'll go into the data inventory a little bit deeper. We have to know what we have and what it means to our business. I like to think of data in 4 separate buckets. We have people data that we're often required by law to protect. We have competitively significant data. These are our crown jewels, our intellectual property, the data that differentiates us from our competition, our competitive advantage. We have functional data. It's that data that we generally need to run our business. This is our accounting data, procurement data, and other general data that people use on a day-to-day basis in running the business. And then we have insignificant data. And I would argue that insignificant data likely makes up the bulk of the data that you have on your systems. The cool thing about this data inventory is it can be used for multiple purposes besides data protection. It's valuable for your business continuity program, and it also gives you an opportunity to review your data retention program to make sure that you're not holding on to data that you really don't need. So a good, robust data inventory will provide you with a good bit of value to understand the data that needs to be protected, what it means to your company, how you would want to access that data through a business continuity program, and also evaluating whether you're following your data retention programs. Step 2, awareness, or as I call it, the weakest link. The employees are the custodians of the data, but they're also the easiest to exploit. So our employees should be educated on the types of data that they're holding. They should be trained on the approaches that the hackers are going to take, such as phishing, social engineering, corporate espionage, and they should be provided with the tools to protect the data, which I'll go into in more detail in Step 3. Step 3, passwords and encryption. Password and encryption are basic tools users have to protect data. The way these tools are implemented should be appropriate to the data type, and going back to Step 1. Users should be trained on the proper use of these tools, such as strong passwords, and have a general understanding that the passwords they're using at work should not be the same passwords they're using for their financial records or their social media records. This is a common exploit that hackers like to use. They go out and check the social media sites like LinkedIn, Facebook. They get detailed information about individuals working for the company. From that information, they're often able to hack into personal passwords. If those are the same passwords those individuals are using at their companies, the hackers now have a way to get into the company system. So it's very important that users understand how to use passwords and encryption properly. Step 4, backup and recovery. Not all threats want to steal data. Some seek to damage infrastructure, to cripple systems, to destroy data. They do this through so-called zero-day attacks. They get applications onto your system that sit there dormant, undetected for long periods of time, and then given a certain day or a certain event, something occurs, these applications kick off and begin destroying systems and data. A well-established backup and recovery process will provide the basic protections your company needs in the event of such an attack. Step 5, monitoring. When a hack is successful, the perpetrators begin surveillance of the system. Their goal is to remain undetected for as long as possible, which nets them the best opportunity to obtain data and/or do damage. A good monitoring program includes 3 things: tools to monitor traffic, a team to do the monitoring, and a team to assess breaches and vulnerabilities and manage incident response. This third item is extremely important. Without a proper team to look at what's happening within the system and make the right assessments, your organization may do the wrong thing in response to an incident. And they may actually do exactly what the hacker wants them to do. In any case, they won't necessarily know what the hacker was going after. And without having that information, they won't be in a good position to protect that data going forward. So it's very important to have a well-trained, well-tooled incident response team that can make the right decisions to provide your company with the best response and protection. Step 6, erecting walls. At points in time, when the Great Wall of China was being constructed, upwards of 20% of the population was involved. Think about that for a minute. The emperor was so intense on saving and protecting his country from the Mongol horde that he was willing to invest 20% of his population into an effort to build these walls for protection. My guess is that your company cannot afford to make that kind of investment. I know mine cannot. So since our companies can't make that type of investment, it makes more sense for us to build castles around the data that matters most, not a wall around the entire network. In a model used by software development companies, we can construct closed managed systems. Does all of your data have to be accessible outside your company via the internet? Or does it make more sense for some of the data to be protected by castles inside the company, not accessible outside? I mean, this is your competitive data. This is what's giving you a competitive advantage. Do you really need or want that information available outside your company? And then step 7, counterintelligence and resource collaboration. Once you've built proper fortifications and have a solid monitoring program, you can establish more aggressive strategies. The FBI provides resources to aid companies in managing cybersecurity risk. While many companies are hesitant to work with the FBI, my experience is that they can be excellent to work with. You can also look to build out false data and use the activities of the hackers to understand what they're after and offer counterintelligence to the FBI. The FBI is very good about taking information from various companies, making sure that we keep everything private, but sharing the information that's necessary to help other companies understand the methods and techniques that the hackers are taking, the types of data that they're going after, and that gives you and other companies a better opportunity to thwart the attackers as they come and try to hack your systems. As I said earlier, none of these steps is independent of the other. All of them add value at one level or another. Rather than thinking of this as a set it and forget it model, each bit should be reevaluated and revised as needed. I hope you found this session helpful. I encourage you to go check out our website at internalauditmastery.com. This is episode 3. You'll also find other blog posts, quotes of the week, and other general reference information there. Thank you.
The information in this program is for general education purposes only and should not be construed as direct advice. The opinions and views expressed by the host and guests are theirs and theirs alone and do not reflect positions held by the companies they currently work for or have worked for in the past.
That concludes this episode of the Internal Audit Mastery Podcast. If you enjoyed this show, please subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube, and visit us at internalauditmastery.com.